Hello, welcome to Early Morning Call, the show that gives you all the information you need just before trading starts here in Europe. First, the headlines. China's manufacturing and services show weakness and suggest that perhaps more stimulus is needed. Meanwhile, Japan's production rebounds whilst consumer confidence weakens there. We'll have more in a second, along with the yen reaction as well, whilst oil nears 3-month highs on further supply tightening hopes. Now, before we get you across all those stories, let's have a look at the VIX for you. This is the volatility index, still at very low levels, as you can see there. This is also known as the fear gauge, and look at how far it has come since that level last seen in March 2022. Many saying that this indicates that perhaps the rally on the equity markets can continue despite the high inflation, despite the concerns about global economic slowness. However, those risks have dissipated recently, given what the Fed has said and done as well. Just checking in on the FTSE too, because we are just counting down to the open now. FTSE looking like this ahead of the open. Germany's DAX, I want to check on that for you as well, because Germany's DAX bucked the trend Friday to close at record highs on signs of cooling inflation. So if you bet on the DAX, you can pat yourself on the back because it has done exceptionally well. European shares, though, are falling from multi-month highs. Just checking in on the France 40 for you. They've been falling from multi-month highs on average after a mixed bag of earnings and a surprise tweak from the Bank of Japan. Now, overnight in Asia, Japan's Nikkei's rallied to a 4-week high. The calm reaction to the domestic bond market, reacting to the Bank of Japan's surprise policy tweak, calming investors there. Also, we had earnings reports that produced some standout winners and losers. Toyota's logistics company Toyota Shusho surging nearly 10% and helping to boost the auto sector. Asian stocks also trying to end the month on a firm note as we count down to mega caps reporting late in the week from the likes of Amazon and Apple as well. Over in China, the manufacturing activity fell there, but we'll get those details to you in a moment. First, the Wall Street close. All 3 major US indices ended the week with gains after a slew of big tech earnings. And also data showed that US inflation, annual inflation rather, slowed considerably in June, which probably might push the Fed closer to ending its fastest interest rate hiking cycle since the 1980s. Some market watchers have suggested. Just looking at the US early trade as well, because we are still quite a few hours from the open there. However, we do operate all sessions, as you know, on the IG platform. It's looking like we could see a slightly cautious open there to complete this week of encouraging signs. Many investors now are kind of waiting on the big results from Amazon and also from Apple to then form a solidified picture before reinstating their portfolios for the second half. Now, we've had some Japanese data overnight. Let's just get you across them. Japan's factory output improved for the first time in 2 months in June, highlighting growing confidence amongst manufacturers there, which has helped this strong demand. Just wanting to check on the yen for you as well. This is the yen versus the US dollar to see if there's any reaction. Now, just changing this to the 1-minute chart, because that could give us a better indication of whether there has been a reaction or not. It hasn't actually shown much of a move. However, I can tell you that this cross has been trying to retest the 14,176 levels. You can see from my trend line there. And with momentum slowly creeping high, we could see this cross test that level in the not too distant future if we continue to get further signs of strength from the US economy, the Japanese economy rather. June retail sales there rose 5.9% year on year, but consumer confidence worsened slightly. Now, just checking in on China as well, because the manufacturing activity there fell for a fourth straight month in July, whilst the services and construction sectors teetered on the brink of contraction. Quite a few market watchers say that this could point towards further stimulus from China to help its economy and what it itself has described as tortuous recover. The construction activity for July was its weakest since COVID-19 related workplace disruptions ended around February. Just checking in on some German data for you, pulling up the DAX again, because we've just had this German data through not too long ago. However, it had yet to shake out. So let me check on that for you right now. Germany's economy has, of course, been going through quite a few hardships recently, as suggested by economic data. Its manufacturing sector has not recovered as well as the Eurozone had hoped. And also, the interesting thing about Germany is that it looks like the ECB not quite finished yet with its rate tightening cycle. Many believe that because of the really difficult situation in terms of sticky inflation, the ECB might continue to tighten rates further, even after the Fed might have actually stopped its rate tightening cycle. There is not much yet on this figure that waiting on. I will check in on that further for you. Actually, no, it's just out. German retail sales declined 1.6% year on year in June versus negative 6.3%, which was what was expected. Now, in terms of Eurozone, we also have GDP numbers out of the Eurozone. Growth rate expectations quarter on quarter, 0.1% is what is expected. This number coming out at 10 UK time. Year on year, we're looking out for a figure of 0.4%. Also checking in on Pearson. This is the company that has virtual learning as one of its products, English language learning as well, and workforce skills and higher education is its bread and butter. Its virtual learning division, if you remember, offers online learning for every age and stage of education. In fact, a lot of the focus on Pearson has been its improvement in this space, especially during lockdown. Now, Pearson's operating profit came in at £219 million. This is for the first half. Adjusted, though, the figure was £250 million, and the first half adjusted free cash flow figure was £379 million. Also want to check in on Avis budget because it is out with second quarter earnings later today. Expectations per share, EPS $9.44 on revenues of $3.2 billion. This is the rental and car sharing firm, which, like many in the travel sector, is expected to say that travel and revenge travel trend post-lockdown continues to be strong. Morgan Stanley recently upgraded its stock to overweight. And just a quick check on commodities before we go. Just putting up the crude chart for you here because there's been a lot of volatility in this space. In fact, many clients are like this financial instrument because of the many entry and exit points in terms of what volatility gives our clients. Now, oil prices edged lower, but are hovering near 3-month highs if I extend this chart for you and make it a wider ranging chart. Oil, of course, has been buffeted by the supply and demand picture. And oil has, this is the 1 hour chart for you, oil prices are looking, well, they've been quite low, but they're looking like they're set to recover and post the biggest monthly gains in more than a year. And this is because there is now this growing expectation that Saudi Arabia will extend voluntary output cuts into September and tighten global oil supply. This is the weekly chart for you to give you a longer term view. Crude, as you can see there, was quite high in 2014 before it fell and dipped there in April 2020 before rising back up as we saw lockdowns start to come off. And we can also see that it has come off slightly, but is starting to gather momentum there as we see more output cuts and curbs announced. And that's it for now. Before letting you go, let's have a last look at the equity markets for you. Here's a look at the France 40. As you can see there, this is a weekly chart to give you a wider view. France 40 has been creeping, grinding higher there. Similar picture with the FTSE as well as the German 40 grinding higher there. Of course, many investors waiting on more central bank action and Apple and Amazon to update later this week. Just a reminder, we have charting at 10:30, plus do join me for our new edition of Beat the Street at 13:30 UK time. Until then, I'm Angeline Ong, and this is IGTV.